let's say how if you have to make a writing, technical or scientific, how you get started, you know. So first of all, you have to define the purpose of the document you are trying to prepare, you know. So that is the first step, that you should know uh, very clearly and in defined manner what is the purpose of the document you are preparing. Okay. And then you should also define the audience, the single reader or group of readers to whom you want to prepare the document, you know. And then the the purpose and the group, when you decide it, then third point, which needs to be done, that the kind of details you want to give in the document, you know. So uh, uh, because that is important, that what should be the level of details you want to give in the document, and that depends upon the audience you are trying to address. Okay. And then you have to organize the document by way of supporting information you want to give to make your point clear. So basically, these are four um, points which one has to keep in mind before you start preparing a document, technical or scientific. What are those 4 points I mentioned? First is the purpose of the document. You have to be very clear or find that, okay, this is my objective to write this document. Second is the audience, whether it is technical audience or non-technical audience, you know. And so you have to decide that which is the group of audience you are trying to target, and then the kind of details you want to give in the document, that should be very clearly in your mind. And then you should organize the data, the kind of detail you want to give in there. So these four things you should have very clearly at hand. And then as a writer, you know, so what is your role, you know, while preparing the document? Okay. So first, you as a document writer, you have to keep or employ these ethical principles, the 4 or 5 principles which I'm going to discuss. They are the ethical points you have to keep in mind as a document writer. So first point is that whatever you are writing, you should own the responsibility of that document. So your language should be such that it should not evade your responsibility. So the language which you write in the document or use in the document should make the readers understand that you are responsible for this document. Okay, that is one point, that you use such a language that you are owning the responsibility of the document. Two, the language which you are using, again, see, this is all how you are putting things in document. First, own the responsibility. Second, use the language in the document which should not mislead the readers. It means your language which you are writing, you know, it should not mislead the readers. Your message should be should go to the readers very clearly. Okay, and also third, that you should not see, when we write a document, we should not emphasize, re-emphasize, and de-emphasize. These are the 3 words. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you should not try to suppress any information if available to you, or de-emphasize something which you need to emphasize while preparing the document. So the point I'm trying to make is that you should, as a document preparer or writer, you should give proper emphasis to the information you are trying to give to the readers. You should not try to suppress something or give more emphasis to some facts, okay? And uh, the second one is do not emphasize misleading or incorrect information. So you should emphasize the correct thing which need to be emphasized, okay? And fifth, which is very important, that you should treat readers or the targeted audiences respectfully and fairly. So to conclude, what I'm trying to say that as a writer, you should be neutral. You should not be biased while preparing a document for one fact or the other, and you should own the responsibility, and you should use the language which should not be misleading, to the readers. The message should be very clearly written, unambiguously, and uh, and uh, 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 and you should respect the audience to whom the document is going to go. So this is as a writer, these are the ethical points you should keep in mind. Now, whether technical or scientific, both, you have to keep this in mind. Uh, and then while preparing the document, you should give credit to people whose information you are using, or the source. Suppose you are preparing a document where you have used information generated by others to take support, or to take support in emphasizing your point. Okay, so if you are doing so, then you should give them credit. Okay, so this is actually part of a very important process of this plagiarism, and I will give a lecture or two on plagiarism as we go along. But right now, what I'm trying to say, that as a writer, you should keep in mind ethical issues, and also this is also ethical I mean, it also is in the scope of ethics only, academic ethics, that if you are using information, knowledge generated by others, you have to give credit to that person, okay? Because for the reasons given here, that the readers can go back to the original and try to follow that research, or that information, that what's going on in that area, that is, and of course it support. I mean, the information which you're using, that is to support your position, recommendations, and conclusions, etc. Okay, so this is another point which one has to keep in mind as a writer, that you should give credit to this. So to what we are trying to understand with this discussion of there are some characteristics which emerges for technical writer. Okay, what are those characteristics? One, that there should be clarity. Okay, clarity means that the contents which you're writing should be easily understood by the audiences. Okay, so clarity should be there. It should be concise. You don't have to go round and round and round to write something. If whatever you have observed, you can write straightforward. So concisely, you have to uh, uh, you have to write everything very concisely. It should be clear without excess of words used. Just like done in the creative writing, so where you have to, and you have to create scene, and a lot of background is to be given, So, but here it should be concise, uh, and then it should be targeted to specific audience. Yes, whatever document you are preparing, it should be with a specific purpose. So document should be written for a specific purpose. It should be accurate. So accuracy should be there. Correct, it should be correct, means it should be correct technically as well as language, grammatically, and it should be comprehensive. So comprehensive means it should have all necessary information in the whole writer, and it should be accessible, means it should have all the contents of the document which are required, like in terms of data, tables, headings, subheadings. So should be accessible. So please keep this in mind, that for making a good technical or scientific, I'm now including both, for technical and scientific document, these are the characteristics which one has to see that your document which you have prepared is fulfilling these characteristics in terms of clarity, conciseness, purpose, accuracy, correctness, comprehensive. And so you have to, after finishing or writing or preparing document, you have to see that it is fulfilling these characteristics are not. In this, I will just take some example of style in good writing. So basically, phrases should be avoided in technical or scientific writing, and whatever alphabetic list of misused words and phrases, or the correct usage, I will give you that. Say, for example, you should use present tense or the active voice in preparing a technical document. For example, instead of writing the material about the business application will demonstrate. So one way is writing like this. You can use the material about the business application demonstrates. See, so there is a present tense and the active voice. So instead of writing like this, you should write like this. Similarly, instead of writing after reading this material, the board will determine appropriate action or actions. Instead of writing this sentence, one can write after reading this material, the board can determine appropriate actions. So there is a difference, So one has to keep this in mind, that you have to use present tense, in a situation like this, and active voice. And then avoid using words ending with ing. This is very important. So, for example, instead of advocate requesting state assistance when available, you can write, this sentence can be written, request state assistance when available. Okay, so these are the things which you have to keep in mind, and also don't write complex sentences, big sentences, as I mentioned earlier. Also, try to write short sentences, and simple sentences to convey what you want to say. okay? And then gender neutrality should be there, should use plurals rather than singular nouns and pronouns, So, and then you should give a list of abbreviations, if whatever you are using. And first time, if you are using any abbreviations, you give the full form. Vice versa, use full form and then give short form, and then follow it that in the subsequent things. Redundancy like this, for example. See, instead of writing like other significant features of program include expense reporting, detailed payroll capture, time management modules, and benefit features. Instead of writing this, you can write other significant features of the program includes 1, 2, 3. So these are some of the examples, how you should take care of making an effective writing, And then, of course, editing is very, very important. And then some words, which are phrases which one should avoid, as I was mentioning. For example, all of. Instead of writing all of, you can write just all. As to whether, instead of writing this phrase, you just write whether. At the present moment in time, you just say now. Now means the whole 4 or 5 words. Being that is, you can write since, So like that, these are various examples, which you should keep in mind, that use small single words rather than writing a or and when you have to use correctly, affect versus effect, alternative, among versus between. So these are very similar meaning words, but when you have to use that, you have to choose depending on the sentence which you are, or the message you want to create, So these are some of the examples which you can read in slides, when you go through these slides, that what you should use and what. Then the whole process of writing a technical document has 3 steps. One is the pre-write. You just make a rough draft, what we call pre-writing. Then you try to edit that, bring it down to the message. And then the rewrite. Rewrite means pre-write, write, and rewrite. These are the 3 phases or 3-step process for preparing a document. In one, you just bring together various things which you want to put in the document, and then make a rough draft. And once your rough draft is ready, go through that, and then you rewrite and make a final document. So these are some of the steps which you have to keep in mind. So I'll stop here and then talk about scientific writing from next week.